Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is attempting to boost his chances in the New York City mayoral race. His latest strategy is attacking Zohran Mamdani's rent-stabilized apartment. Now, in a lengthy post on X, which garnered tens of millions of views, Cuomo writes, "Somewhere last night in New York City, a single mother and her children slept at a homeless shelter because you, Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani, are occupying her rent-controlled apartment." He adds, "You make $142,000 a year plus stipends. No matter which way you cut it, Zohran Mamdani is a rich person. You are actually very rich, yet you and your wife pay $2,300 a month. As you've bragged for a nice apartment in Astoria, that should be housing for someone who needs it." Kept it all off by saying, "Today I am calling on you to move out immediately and give your affordable housing back to an unhoused family who need it. Leaders must show moral clarity. Time to move out."
Cuomo also announced this weekend his proposal for Zoran's Law, which he says aims to keep the rich out of New York's affordable housing. Let's take a look.
Rent-stabilized units, when they're vacant, should only be rented to people who need affordable housing, not people like Zohran Mamdani. You don't need to be renting rent-stabilized units to wealthy people. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're abusing the system. I'm going to propose not rent that apartment by law, except to a person who actually needs affordable housing. And I'm going to call it Zoran's Law because it's an abuse of the system.
Now, Mamdani has not responded to Cuomo's message for proposed the law, but the attacks come days after recent polling shows Mamdani is leading Cuomo by 13 points, according to a recent Decision Desk HQ poll. As a reminder, Cuomo currently lives in an $8,200 a month Manhattan apartment, according to the Times. Additionally, Forbes estimates Cuomo is worth about $10 million, which they say is a roughly five-fold gain in less than a decade. And if you want to do the math, CNBC estimates the income needed to be considered middle class in New York City ranges from $51,000 to $153,000. So Zohran Mamdani wasn't even in middle class consideration because he made $47,000 when he got that apartment, and you know, there was a difference.
Now he makes 140 something.
Yeah, but he made 47 when he got it and he stayed there. How many times when you move somewhere and you're comfortable would you get out of that apartment? I don't think he's like, how can I take advantage of the people? I think he found a cheap apartment, got a new job more recently, and made a new salary. And so now he also said directly that he plans to move. But this is all a lot going on in the middle of a campaign.
I mean, I guess the point would be he comes from significant wealth and privilege, though. So while he maybe didn't on paper have a good income, I mean, this just speaks to the difficulty of correctly making these laws in such a way where you're only giving some benefit to people who are truly needy and not to others. Yes, again, because of his income status, he might perfectly well have qualified for it at the time. But I know from... You know, I remember my college days where a bunch of students at the University of Michigan, they had, in Michigan we called them, I think, bridge cards. It's basically food stamps because you have no income, so you can qualify for it, that they would just use to buy beer. It's an age-old problem.
But you can't buy.
But it's not enforceable.
You can't buy beer on. That's not how that works.
This was the state, the local, not the federal food stamp problem. But that doesn't work either because money is fungible. So you can just spend like whatever money you were going to spend on groceries, now you're spending with this, and you spend the money you would spend on groceries on beer. So it doesn't, even that prescription doesn't work.
For Cuomo, this is very much a distraction, right? We know last week that people were tying him to President Trump. We know that he is probably surprised and bewildered that somebody like Mamdani, who was basically nameless a year ago, has outpaced him in the polls. We know that that doesn't make him comfortable in this race. And people are saying that he had a direct conversation with President Trump. He's denying it. But even his behavior is very Trump-esque. Let me find something. I got to do a jab. Instead of like actively talking about policies that he would put in place, he's like, how can I jab Mamdani? And it's also really interesting to hear him talk about affordable housing when he's providing no solutions to provide affordable housing to. And what Mamdani is doing, he's not providing any relief for New Yorkers who resonate, especially in New York City, with the problem of overly expensive housing. I mean, he works specifically and has donors that are big real estate developers. And so a lot of the policies he's put in place over the years are anti keeping the rents low, right, for owners of these buildings and owners of big, massive properties in New York City.
Well, I don't support government intervention to dictate to people what they can charge for the properties they own. I think that's the difference between rent control and rent stabilization. I could be wrong. Rent control is right. It is the government saying, here's what you have to charge. Rent stabilization is probably, I'm guessing, the government subsidizing the difference between what it costs and what they're going to raise it by so that you don't feel the effects of the raise, but that the property owner can still raise the rent. regardless, the solution is very obvious, very easy solution. You got to build more housing. Allow more housing to be built, because when there's more availability, prices
So should they go
rise
upwards? Because
slower.
New York is kind of packed. If you've seen it recently, like where are they building at?
I don't know, redevelop some office buildings that people aren't using anymore because more people work from home. I'm sure it can be done. Regulation gets in the way, and that's how you fix it.
So all the times, like Cuomo's talking about Mamdani's morals, everything that he said in the read-in into this segment, you are going to allow this to fly, knowing that Cuomo morally was acting pretty bankrupt when it came down to people in those nursing homes just a few years ago, knowing that he has a lot of accusations against him that morally would be seen incorrect. And knowing that
I don't have a dog in this fight. I mean, I don't like Andrew Cuomo. I would never vote for him based on.
But you
what
love
his government-
Mamdani.
I don't love Mamdani at all. I mean, I don't have anything against him personally, the way I sort of do against Cuomo. But Mamdani's socialist policies will ruin New York, obviously. So I don't want him to. I have no dog. I don't live in New York and would not vote for either of these candidates. I would probably vote for Eric Adams, honestly. And I didn't like him very much either, but he seems by far the least bad of the options.
every time you see Eric Adams, he's more like in the mix in the party. He seems like more like your friend and your homie than somebody who needs to be leading the state, or the city.
Not my circus, not my monkeys, but I do care about affordable housing, and the best way to have affordable housing is to allow for more housing to be built, allow for competition. I just went through this. I live in a neighborhood that right now does have a lot of availability, and my building I had to renew my lease. They tried to jack up my rent. It was outrageous. I've never seen anything like this. I said, no, I will not pay this. This is insane. And I started looking at the units across the street, and they came back to me and said, oh, okay, never mind. And I
left it the same.
That's didn't leave it the same. Still a little increase, but way less than what they prescribed. Oh yeah.
I was like, no high five.
That's worth it.
That's actually really.
So
good
I'm encouraging you,
stand up for yourself.
Stand up for yourself. Negotiate.
Okay, well, and it's also good when leadership tells people not to do stuff like that, right? I know you don't like federal involvement, and we might disagree wholeheartedly about the approach there. But if people are saying, okay, if the rent was $2,300, you can't make it $5,000. Like there has to be some type of limitation on how greedy people can be when you're dealing with people that are struggling with inflation and a bunch of other stuff. So if Cuomo actually wanted to provide a solution, he can lay one out and not come up with Zoran's law that tells people that they can't live in rent-controlled apartments. Like that's not the main crux of the issue with housing in New York City, that a lot of people are taking over spaces.
I don't want the government trying to prescribe what the right cost. I mean, Argentina just went through this. Javier Milei, my guy, my hero, fixing so many of that country's problems, ended rent control, said landlords can charge whatever they want, and has dramatically increased the availability of housing in the country by just letting the market do its work. Not having the government decide.
What are the housing prices looking like now? I bet they're
because there's more availability. You don't have to worry about that problem as much, because then, well, if I can't afford this one, there's competition is what brings down prices. We just allow for more competition.
Well, that's one solution, but I'm not hearing any solutions from Cuomo's side, and that's kind of my biggest concern, is that he's deflecting from having a conversation with Trump, which he knows is not a winning connection for anybody who's voting democratically.
I would need to know more about what this apartment, like the size of this apartment, to evaluate whether that price sounds.
It's probably astronomically high for a one-bedroom if they have that.
Well, in Astoria, I'm not a New York expert. I visit the city more than I'd like to because I don't really like it.
It really can't be huge. I mean, I have friends that
live
in Astoria.
is Queens.
Queens, yeah,
Queens.
And it's a pretty expensive part of Queens. It's not like it's very close to Manhattan.
If that's a one-bedroom apartment, that sounds cheap to me. Very cheap for that price. If it's
a studio.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe that's fair. I don't know. If it's a big apartment, then that's outrageous that they can artificially keep it that low. I don't know. I don't know how nice it is. I don't know what modern appliances it has. I don't really care either. He can take advantage of the law the way it's written, just like anyone else. That's fine, but I don't like the policy overall. That's what I would say.
All right, next up, ChatGPT appears to have helped convince a user that he discovered a new revolutionary mathematical formula. We'll be right back after this.